Hello, everyone. Um, I'm actually really excited for today. Today, I have a really childhood friend, kind of special guest. This is Nicholas Gayoso. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Gayoso.
Gayoso.
Yeah.
I always messed that up.
My whole life growing up, everyone messed it up. It's all good.
'Cause I don't want to say it like,
No, it's all right. No worries.
And so, anyone doesn't know, welcome to the B&E podcast. This is the beginning of the never ending. This is the story of people, and the journey of, where they came from and how they became to be and their goals for the future. We're excited to kind of sit down with Nick today and get to kind of learn more about his life and what his life been like in his shoes. Obviously, this is live. Please feel free to chime in and ask questions. And, we want everyone to be involved and be able to kind of, get to experience a little bit more and kind of chime in. So, anyway, we've known each other for a while. We've known each other for a while.
Yeah,
It's been like
freshman year of high
right.
school.
It's been a cool minute.
Yeah.
So I have a question then, because this is something I never really know. All I think I know your is it Argentinian?
Yeah,
Argentina.
Argentina. Yeah, my dad's from Argentina. And my mom's from Bolivia.
So where's your ancestor? Is that where like all your original grandfather, great grandfather, like is that where they come from?
So it kind of it was pretty much my grandparents. Like they're the ones who kind of were first born in Argentina and Bolivia.
Wow.
The rest of my family is mainly like great grandparent stuff. They're mainly from Italy and from Spain.
Yo.
Yeah, so a lot of Argentinians, their ancestry comes from Italy. A lot of them emigrated over to South America after. A lot of them settled in Argentina.
Is this Argentina close to Spain and I don't know,
Argentina, South America.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm curious. So I guess
Yeah.
the Spaniards just came through.
Yeah, it's kind of just just like everyone else. They emigrated from
Sure.
Europe to the Americas essentially.
Right. Okay. So my question then is, have you met I don't know if you know your grandparents like that.
I do know my grandparents, yeah, from my mom's side and from my dad's side. After that, no, just because
Sure.
unfortunately they were all gone at that point. But I did know my grandpa. I know the least. He passed away when I was young. I think maybe was it like 02 maybe. I was only like 7 or 8 or 9.
Right.
My grandma from my dad's side, she passed away in 05.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I always get this confused. I think my grandpa, my dad's dad, he actually passed away on the day we graduated high school.
Whoa.
Yeah, which was kind of crazy.
No way.
The day we graduated. So he had cancer. He was living at home with us. We had an in-house nurse who would come take care of him and stuff like that. And just like the days leading up to graduation, he just got worse and worse and worse. And then, graduation day came. He was still alive, but in a very, very bad state.
Sure.
So left the house with my mom to go to like the rehearsal graduation thing that they had. us
Sure.
do.
Yeah.
And then we were actually supposed to go home to eat. Before going back to the school again for the actual ceremony, and my mom was like, "Oh, like why are we gonna drive all the way back home to eat? Let's just eat out here. That way we don't have to go back and forth." So we did, and then come to find out later that the reason she didn't want to take me home is because my grandpa had just passed away.
She knew.
Yeah, and my dad told her, so like they kept me away so like I could essentially enjoy my graduation.
Oh, your parents. Wow.
Yeah, we made a joke about it later though that like he stayed alive just long enough for me to like leave, and so when I left it was kind of like he was okay to pass, so he could actually go watch my graduation, like his soul essentially.
That's
yeah.
wow. Can you describe your grandparents, like what they were like? Do you know their personalities?
I do. My grandparents from my mom's side,
And that's from Bolivia.
Bolivia. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know them. I know them, but I don't know them as much just because they lived in Bolivia pretty much the whole time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they never emigrated out here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they were always in Bolivia. So I didn't get to see them as often, and so I don't know them that well. I know like my grandpa from my mom's side, he was in like the wars and stuff like that. He actually lost like his hand.
Wow.
And stuff. So but like I said, I was only like 8 or 9 when he passed away.
Sure. Not much you can grab.
Yeah, I know my grandparents from my dad's side like 10 times as much just because they actually lived here.
Sure.
So my grandma, I mean the sweetest thing ever. You know, kind of like that typical Hispanic grandma, like always feeding me, always making sure I was okay. Whenever my parents would work, I would always stay at their house. You know, anything my parents said I couldn't have, she would sneak it to me and like pretty much like do it. Yeah. But we always say we always had this thing like she was like I was her pride and joy because I played soccer growing up in Argentina. Soccer is a huge thing. So after my games on the weekends, we'd go to her house or their house. I'd walk in. First, she'd instantly see me and be like, "Oh, champion, my campeón, my champion." Super happy to see me and stuff. My grandpa, very old school.
Sure.
You know, but man, that probably the toughest dude I've ever known. He 80 years old. The dude would ride his bike like 20 miles a day.
Like an actual bicycle?
Like an actual bicycle.
Wow.
Yeah, like the doctors, he would go to no medications, no nothing. He was healthy as can be. I think he would only take like aspirin for a headache. Other than that, he'd take no medication. The doctor said at one point, he went to the doctor for like a checkup.
Yeah.
He said like if he wasn't his age, like if you look like underneath like the skin and stuff like that, he's like as healthy as like a 20-year-old person.
Wow.
He was that healthy. And the fact that he got cancer was the only reason.
The only reason.
Yeah. If not, he could have probably just gone on forever. Who knows where he'd be at right now. Probably still riding his bike.
Right.
He'd get up at like 4 a.m. to ride his bike. Cold, rainy, hot, whatever the weather was. We'd hear the gate slamming from him closing it, and it'd be like, oh, that's him.
That's
going
him.
to ride his bike. Yeah.
So, do you feel like your parents took on from like their personalities, or are they very?
No, for sure. I think my dad, in a sense, just because I know, his dad, like my grandpa, was very harsh on my dad when he was a kid.
Sure.
So my dad definitely picked up on some of that. Not in a bad way, though. I think my dad definitely, he was definitely hard on me, but he definitely toned it. Not in a bad way, I guess you could say. Just kind of like a more, authority figure.
Yeah.
But still very caring. There were moments where he took it a little too far sometimes. But again, we've kind of talked about that already. And we're like, it's
water under the bridge.
Yeah. He's still, at the end of the day, I know he just wanted the best for me. My mom is, just like any other parent, whenever she had to, discipline me, she would, but she was definitely the nicer of the two. She would go against my dad sometimes.
Go moms.
Yeah. I love you, Mom. There was definitely a time where she would go against my dad, like,
sure,
to, kind of calm him down and, like, be on my side in a sense.
Right. No, I hear you.
But yeah, you definitely see the characteristics that a little bit in them from my grandparents, 100%.
So where did you guys grow up?
Or
where did you? I don't know where they landed, but
so like my parents or
well, in general, I don't. You said
so my parent when they moved here originally, my dad traveled a lot when he was young. Like he went to like Bolivia, Brazil, Mexico. He traveled a lot across South America.
Jeez, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Backpacking, like living like rugged.
Roughing it.
Yeah, roughing it. Yeah.
Okay.
My parents do not come from a wealthy background.
Yeah, sure.
So he eventually ended up in Bolivia where he met my mom. He actually emigrated to the States first. He actually went to Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah. And at that, I mean, you got to think this was late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
White people.
Yeah.
And you got this one Hispanic dude. He was like, no one spoke Spanish except for him and maybe like this one other guy. But so he was here first for a couple years, moved out to California, and then my mom came a couple years later, and originally in East LA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they lived in East LA. My sister was born in East LA. They eventually moved out to Fontana for a couple of years, and then now to Rialto, where we still are at this moment.
So how many brothers and sisters do you have?
So I have an older sister.
Okay.
About 9 years older than me, and I have an older half brother from my dad's first marriage when he was actually in Bolivia before he met my mom. He's about 18, 19 years older. So we're actually kind of all separated by about 9 years roughly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting that we did that math one time and we're like, hey, it's always 9 years, give or take. So it's pretty cool.
And I guess because you said Rialto is kind of where you've been.
Yeah, I grew up there. I was born in Redlands, but I was raised in Rialto my whole life.
So it's one thing I like about Rialto is that like you're kind of in the hub. You have everything around you. You have San Bernardino, you have Fontana. You can go slide over to Rancho. You can go down.
Yeah, I'm like in the center because like I always like even like to go anywhere. I'm like I can either go east or west, and I can hop on like the 15 or the 250.
Yeah.
Pretty much go anywhere I want. Yeah, I got Big Bear like an hour away. LA's an hour. Victorville's an hour. San Diego's like just over an hour. But yeah, I can pretty much go from anywhere. So.
Well, it seems like obviously your father's big into traveling when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Did you travel a lot when you were or was it more of just kind of hustling?
We did travel like as a family. Like we visited like Argentina and Bolivia, but not as much as like I guess as he did.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like we never been to Europe and stuff like that. We've gone to Mexico, like I said, South America, but never. It wasn't as crazy as what.
Yeah,
he did.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
The stories he has told me, I'm like, dude, how are you still alive at this point? You should have died 50 years ago,
right?
Because he would just do insane things that I could never imagine myself doing.
So, what was life as a child? What was kind of like your experience being with your older sister and your younger brother's probably not there yet. But.
No, I mean, I was never really close with my older brother.
Oh, okay.
Just because, like I said, he was from my dad's first marriage. He's been in Bolivia his whole life.
Sure.
But as far as like my childhood here, yeah, I can't complain. I had a great childhood. Loving parents. You know, an older sister who loved me as well. I had everything I could ever ask for.
Did you have like any like passions or anything or like?
Soccer was always a big thing.
Soccer.
I mean, my parents told me that before I could even walk, I would hold myself up on the couch and like kick the soccer ball around, crawl and go get it, roll it back, hold myself up again and kick it again. So soccer was something that was instilled in me from a very young age and still is now, even though I don't play it anymore.
Sure.
It's still something I'll watch it. I'll go to games and stuff like that. The World Cup is actually starting in like a week, so I'm super excited to watch that. Yeah. So, but yeah, that was the main thing. I think soccer was a big thing in our family. On the weekends, watching it with my dad, playing it, they would take me anywhere. I played in like Lancaster, Northern California. We traveled to Arizona, Mexico a couple of times to play.
And were you? I take it that's the type of personality you were, kind of this outgoing, really active childhood. Or?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely active a lot. Just like I said, it's just I was just running all over the place. I was super hyperactive. I was very mischievous. Like I would just drive my parents nuts. My dad would actually, to get me to go to sleep when I was a baby, he would actually have to he would let me just run around the neighborhood until I burned myself out. It was like 11 o'clock midnight sometimes, because I just had so much energy that was the only way for them to get me to go to sleep, was to just kind of let me run it all out until I just passed out.
That's so cool. So okay, so soccer's a big thing in your life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel forced. No.
One
of the things I've heard that it especially seems like your father's really into it as well. Yeah. That's one thing that's a little nervous, right? Because your father has all these expectations. Like, you're going to be like the World Cup champion.
Oh, he had the expectations. The expectations were always there.
There was no humility.
No. I mean, it was never like he expected me to be like a professional player or something like that. But he has the mentality of, it's like, whatever you do, you better be the best at it. So it was always that kind of thing. Like, even if you're not going to be pro, it's like, if you're on that field, whatever you're doing, you better be the best. So he pushed me a lot, but it was never, like I said, sometimes it got too far.
Sure.
It didn't make it fun sometimes, but at the end of the day, anytime I played, it was because I wanted to. He never forced me to play. It was my choice. I always wanted to do it, and he didn't care what I did. It was just that. It was like, whatever you do, just be the best at it. Soccer, basketball, a janitor or whatever. It's like, whatever you do, you better be the best at it.
So what is your kind of relationship with your sister, with you trying to like hit this goal of, I don't know.
We were very close. I think we got, as kids, maybe not so much just because of that age gap. But definitely once I hit 18, we got much closer, because now, we could go out together, we could hang out, and then especially when I turned 21, we can go out drinking,
right.
Go to the bars and hang out. So, I mean, as kids, yeah, we were still close, but it definitely got much closer once I, like I said, became an adult,
Mm.
because there were so many more things now that were open for us to do as a brother and sister.
Any like big friends at this time when you going? And I guess you're kind of growing up through.
I did.
Middle
I
school.
had a yeah, like elementary school. I actually had one of my best friends. His name was actually Nick. Too.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I would hang out with him all the time. I think I would. He would spend the night at my house. I would spend the night at his house. I think I saw him. If I didn't see him 7 days out of the week, it felt weird.
Mm.
So, I then I had my neighborhood friends.
Sure.
My next door neighbor, Brittany. She was like really close. I had my friend. There's a cul-de-sac right in front of my street. His name was Jonathan. He's still probably one of my best friends. I still talk to him like every night. We play video games. He lives in Arizona now.
Yo.
But this whole time, we've stayed connected as friends. He's probably the longest friend I have running currently.
It seems so. One of the things that seems interesting is that you being so active. You're into like all these things. But it doesn't feel like, again, it doesn't feel forced. It feels like this is just a natural kind of occurrence of things. Like you're just kind of going with the flow. You have these friends that you're interacting with. You have like the sports that you're into. I imagine you have sports friends too.
Yeah, 100%. One of my best friends right now, I met him through soccer in high school. We played on the soccer team in high school together. And then even he's a year older, and even after he graduated, we still stayed close friends. And he's still one of my best friends to this day too. So. A lot of the friends that I have, like you said, it's just natural occurrence through things that I like.
Yeah.
I've been able to hold on to those very few friends, and I can't complain about the friends.
It's just been working out.
Yeah, it just works out perfectly. I have friends from like one good friend from childhood, one really good friend from soccer. I have another really good friend who I met because we went to Chafee together.
Wow.
So I've been able to there's a friend from a little bit of everything.
So, can you describe kind of like your, I guess, going through school and stuff? Were you a huge academic person, or were you more focused on like the extracurriculars?
A little bit of both. I mean, school, not to brag, but school was always kind of easy for me.
Sure.
I never really, just because I have a really good memory, I never really had to study that hard to get good grades. At least up until high school, it was like I would rarely ever study. School was very easy. I don't think I ever got below a B in like any classes unless I was just being lazy and didn't want to do the work. When it got to high school, it was more of I got really lazy. I got super lazy, and even with that, I was still getting like all B's and C's. It did get bad at one point, like junior year. I really started going bad, but it was just because I started being super lazy and I didn't care. Right. I don't know. I guess I just put my mind onto other things, sports, hanging out with friends, having a relationship. So I didn't pay attention to those. So it got bad. But literally, once I applied myself a little bit, it just kind of got back to being easy. So school was never hard. It was always kind of just a breeze for me.